Alan Johnson, and I work for IFC Agribusiness Advisory.
Hi, and I am Yemsraj Fisaha. I also work for IFC in Agribusiness Advisory. Today, we will be introducing this newly published book, Working with Smallholders, a third edition. It's for firms building sustainable supply chains. So let's begin by talking about why did we write the handbook?
Well, simply put, the smallholder agenda is even more important now than it was in previous editions. 80% of the world's farmers are smallholder farmers, and they play a vital role in achieving food security. Now, we've seen with the crises of climate change and conflict that rural livelihoods are getting negatively impacted. And this is particularly true in Africa and Asia, where smallholder farmers make up some of the poorest segments of the population. But this also means that engaging with those smallholders is going to be critical if we're to reach the 2030 goals, especially in terms of poverty reduction and reaching global food security. Now, in the transition to a more productive and sustainable agriculture, that brings with it many opportunities, and particularly business opportunities. And I think that brings us to the second feature of the book, which is, there's many studies of smallholder agriculture, but I think this one is unique because it comes at the problem or the challenge from a private sector perspective. So in other words, what can private firms do in a practical sense that engages positively with smallholder farmers? So Yemi, you've been involved in the production of this book. What was the approach that was used?
Well, the handbook takes a holistic approach to the challenge of working with smallholder farmers. In a sense, there's not a narrow focus on agronomic practices or on contract-based market relationships. Rather, the handbook covers wide-ranging topics, including agricultural technologies, agtech, access to finance, partnerships, managing risks, nutrition, women and youth participation, but all of these discussed within the context of working with smallholder farmers. And you can see that all of the chapters within this book are written by authors across IFC and World Bank, each with expertise in these specific fields.
And which were the topics that particularly resonated with you?
Well, for me, the chapters on training and aggregation stood out the most. So that's chapter 3 and 6. Chapter 3 talks about aggregation and working cost effectively at scale. So in this chapter, we see a list of checklists or action points for agribusinesses to effectively source from smallholder farmers. And some of the points mentioned include geographically spreading their portfolio so that they can reduce the risk of undersupply, or leveraging donor support when available so that they can invest in strengthening their supply chains, or taking advantage of technology. The other chapter is chapter 6, which talks about training and communication. In this chapter, there are also a list of action points identified for the agribusinesses to use as they train smallholder farmers. And these include working with local partners when designing and delivering trainings, identifying the needs first or starting with needs assessment, and then market linkage. Training for the purpose of training is not sufficient. Effective extension programs do generate commercial benefit to smallholders. So how about you? Which topics did you find useful?
Yeah, well, of course, the whole book is excellent, but I guess I was drawn to the emerging trends around agtech and sustainability. Now, I think with agtech, obviously this is potentially disruptive and transformational, and there's a lot of buzz and interest in this area, but it's not a silver bullet. And I think particularly in the markets we're working in, there's a lot of issues around infrastructure, access, affordability, and other constraints which would stop technology being adopted. But at the end of the chapter 4, there's a very helpful checklist that actually goes through some of these kind of decision issues that you might need to make if you're interested in agtech in your project. Then on sustainability, I think many of the big agribusinesses have made these bold public commitments to sustainability, and I think for us there's a big opportunity to work with those companies on operationalizing their commitments. And I think agtech can actually even play a role in that, through traceability and other things. And I think there's also some interesting discussions around, say, the group methodologies for verification, which is a way in which smallholders can participate in that sustainability journey. One of the interesting features of this handbook is the end, this future outlook chapter that makes these predictions.
Yes, that is an intriguing chapter, obviously with some controversies. There are 7 trends identified.
And of the trends, I think 2 of them seem to already be very relevant, ringing true, if you like. The first is the global shocks. When we were writing the handbook, COVID was top of mind, but that's receded, but other shocks, conflicts and so on have come into play. So I guess that remains very relevant. I think the other one would be the traceability, whereas I think there's changes coming up in the EU regulatory environment, and that it's making traceability move from a kind of nice to have to a must have.
And with that, we invite you to download the full handbook following the QR code, or you may buy it online from Amazon. Thank you for watching this video and enjoy the read.